Hey there, it's meteorologist Jamie Singleton. It is Tuesday night, May the 26th, 2020. How you doing tonight? It's muggy, it's humid, and it looks potentially rainy again. Actually, it looks very rainy and maybe even excessively rainy here across the southeast and mid-Atlantic over the next 24 to 48 hours. Here is the weather pattern on tonight's weather map discussion. And we have an upper level low here centered across southwest Oklahoma. See a very deep trough here. Winds going into the trough and then exiting the trough here as we begin to open up, or we've already opened up the Gulf of Mexico with moisture surging at the surface all the way through the Great Plains. And that flat, part of the country allows for that moisture to surge way up to the north here. So we're way up in the Great Lakes with a lot of this moisture. Let's see if I can overlay. I didn't plan on doing this, but overlay some of the dew points here. And you can see how quickly that moist air has advected north out of the Gulf of Mexico. Here are some of the actual dew point readings, well into the 60s, lower 70s out across here. That's fueling some heavier showers and thunderstorms. And what we've got in place across the southeast is a change in air mass compared to what we had last week. We had the flooding concerns, but by and large, it was just light to moderate rain. We didn't see the tremendous rainfall totals until Sunday across Henry County and Bassett in Virginia, where we had the devastating flash flooding. But this time around, this next upper low that's impacting the area, we've got more in the way of water vapor and higher precipitable water values to work with. In other words, the warmer the air, the more moisture it can hold. We take a given column of the atmosphere. So it may not be an overall rain like we had last week, but the areas that do see rain are going to see some efficient rain producers from these showers and thunderstorms. So this upper low is going to very slowly move off to the northeast only after Friday or Saturday. It's going to remain parked here for the next couple of days. And it's also going to pick up this system here off of the north of the Bahamas, down through the Bahamas, off the coast of Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. National Hurricane Center has that at about a 30% chance of tropical development. That really doesn't matter for us, for most of the southeast and mid-Atlantic. The concern is for the air mass that it's bringing in. It's a tropical air mass, and again, it is the air mass that's capable of producing higher rainfall rates. And it's not necessarily the rain totals that we're worried about. It's the rate of rainfall that can occur in about 6 or 12 hours, starting here tomorrow near the coast, and then as we go into tomorrow night going inland. So there's the system right now. I want to show you the computer model here. And I'm going to move it out. I wasn't planning on doing this with GR Earth, but I'm going to do that. See if I can get it overlaid here for you. And we'll go to our models here. And we're going to go with our 18Z high-res NAM. So this is, let's see, we'll start you off around 1 a.m., 2 a.m. This is 2 a.m. Wednesday. Our low here is off the coast. Some sporadic activity across the southeast. Now let's move this forward 3, 4, 5 in the morning. A lot of the moisture there is still off the coast of South Carolina. As we go to 8 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, this thing is going to quickly accelerate to the northwest even as it gets pulled into this upper low here across the southeast. So it's going to be rainy and stormy through the Memphis, Tennessee area, western Kentucky. But you got kind of an elongated area of storminess and convection here, almost not totally a tropical feature. This looks more synoptic, more baroclinic to me. But anyway, showing some temperature contrast here south of the system, a bit of a tail on this thing, but some heavier rainfall nonetheless through Myrtle Beach and Wilmington, North Carolina, as early as Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock. Advancing north here, through the late morning hours into the early afternoon, the shield of precip will approach the Fayetteville-Raleigh area, Greenville, North Carolina, up to around Charlotte. A lot of the models are still having a tough time on where the exact center of this will go, but the potential's there, again, with that tropical air mass in place for some very heavy rainfall totals here. I'm jumping around all over the place here. Let me get situated again. 2 p.m. for tomorrow. 2 p.m. This is 2 p.m. Wednesday. Still got the heavier rainfall down here across the Carolinas with some flash flooding possible given the wet ground. Then is especially in southwest Virginia. Late tomorrow afternoon, late Wednesday afternoon, and the Wednesday nights when the core of the heaviest rainfall starts to move in across Greensboro and the Raleigh-Durham area. And then as we go into 8 p.m., it quickly moves north through the Roanoke-Lynchburg areas here. We could be looking at some serious flooding. This is going to be moving pretty fast, but again, the rainfall rates, if they exceed about 2 to 3 inches in a 6-hour window, we could be looking at flash flooding here. This is 8 p.m. Wednesday. 9 p.m., 10 p.m., there's a deformation zone that sets up through the Roanoke Valley area. That's where the moisture gets wrapped around the center of the low pressure system, and it tends to rain over a larger area for a larger amount of time, and that's where you can see some flooding issues. That may continue up around Christiansburg and Lexington, Botetourt County, up through the Allegheny Highlands here by 10 p.m. Wednesday. This thing quickly moves to the north, but notice that band, that deformation band there, staying on the west side of the system. So it sets up, quickly moves north as we go to midnight, early Thursday morning. The system itself is north of here, but the overall air mass is going to remain very moist and unstable, and that will get those diurnal showers and thunderstorms going, some of which will have some heavier rainfall. This is the GFS. I think the GFS has got a pretty good idea of what's going on here. And as we take you through the overnight hours into the early morning, this is deep layer moisture from about the mid and the upper levels of the atmosphere, from 700 millibars to 400 millibars. Green areas are the rich areas of moisture. And you can see our surface low there in the red. So it'll be near Myrtle Beach, whatever this thing is, the surface center, and there could be some embedded strong activity with that. But the rainfall is the main thing. So our drier air is up to the north with high pressure blocking us from moving up to the north into the east like we typically would see. We've got low pressure across the southern plains, and that's going to pull this in just a little bit. Kind of tugs it into North Carolina and hugs it right up against Greensboro and Raleigh by the evening hours. And you see that deep moisture ahead of the system. So it does get it kind of sucked north here. Squeeze play gets put on here with high pressure to the east of it and low pressure to the west. But again, the key would be embedded within the flow is that tropical system. But by Thursday morning, it's out of here. The key is the overall setup does not move much, and you still have low pressure off to the west and high pressure to the east. You still have favorable conditions for humid air and moisture and pop-up showers and heavier thunderstorms right on into Friday and Saturday. And in fact, some enhancement here coming up Saturday morning. This is as the main trough finally starts to lift out, and we start to see drier air move in for the second half of the weekend for a good part of the mid-Atlantic and even the southeast. This is a pretty powerful cold front that'll bring a lot of relief to a lot of areas, lower humidity moving in. But to accomplish that, we have to get through some flooding issues probably as we go into the next 24 to 48 hours. I think somewhere we'll get the flooding. Again, the big thing is the potential for tropical rain rates. That typically is about 2 to 4 inches of rain in 3 or 4 hours. We see with tropical systems or with subtropical systems or anything that comes out of the tropics this time of the year. The good news is it's going to be moving kind of fast. But as we go through, again, the next 24 hours, things will be deteriorating. I just wanted to show you the regional Canadian model here. This is from the 18Z run. I think it's got a pretty good idea on where that zone sets up here across the western Piedmont of North Carolina, up and down 73 through Greensboro, Winston-Salem, and then I'm getting into southwest Virginia here around midnight. A little bit slower with the precip maybe, a little more developed of a system. You know, and it could be a broader system that may not develop into an entity somewhat. Is it just as an elongated area, like it's showing up on the satellite and water vapor picture tonight. This is the infrared satellite. It's not a real concentrated system. It's a long area of convection here. So models have a hard time seeing this in the initial, and this could lead to some forecasting changes down the road. So keep an eye on this structure. Okay, if it continues elongated and the models finally get a handle of that, you may see the rainfall rates go up. You may see the placement of the heavier rain change. All that is subject to change. I do know from my years of experience that you can expect the unexpected with anything coming out of the tropics, especially into the warmer months in regards to flooding potential, severe weather potential, and especially when you've got a saturated ground. You don't want to turn your back on this system. So as it moves along the Blue Ridge Mountains, the potential is there for some enhanced upslope areas as well. And again, it gets embedded within the flow and kind of gets sheared out across Pennsylvania for Thursday afternoon. Just splash and dash showers and storms, which to the naked eye here doesn't look that bad. But again, underneath any of these super soakers, you're going to see some heavier rainfall amounts here. Moving into the Storm Prediction Center forecasting here. This is off of the 12Z runs of some of the near-term guidance here. So we're going to go through the night tonight and go into Wednesday. And I'm going to take it up across Wednesday afternoon right up against Virginia here. So that's the HRRR, one of the latest models of the HRRR. It kind of has the center there around the Florence, South Carolina area near there. This is the NSSL model, which has faster onset here by Wednesday afternoon and evening, some heavier rainfall and maybe some stronger storms north of the center, which would be right around Rockingham, North Carolina. And depending on which model you choose here, there's the ARW, the NMN. I have a hard time pronouncing that, as I always do, but some pretty high reflectivities here. One thing that this model, particular one, is showing is maybe some enhanced upper diffluence with the upper low off to the west. This is the NAM Nest, a little bit farther east. That's farther west. Again, this is going to change because we're still analyzing that system. It's not really well developed for the models to get a good handle on it, but it's there. This is the 12-hour NSSL, the ARW. Most of it, though, if you were to average it together, has our area, Southwest Virginia and North Carolina, in the bullseye for at least some heavier rainfall. Also wanted to point out the potential for some storminess from this too. We're not going to have a ton of CAPE around Wednesday, but beyond the system, the air that it drags in beneath it here, coming up for Thursday, the heavier rain exits. But then as the sun comes out and we still have all that moisture around, it really elevates our CAPE here up to about 1,500 across a good part of the southeast. So that could get some locally stronger, even severe thunderstorms going. And again, any of those storms could produce some flash flooding and isolated areas, some damaging wind gusts there as well. Maybe even some wet microbursts in a few areas. This is Friday. You still have a lot of CAPE around, amounts almost up to 2,000 in eastern Virginia there. That's pretty good for severe weather. So we'll have to watch severe weather potential as well. But by Saturday, it's moving off to the east ahead of our front. Speaking of our fronts, this is how it looks on the Weather Prediction Center site. This is late tonight. There's our low off the coast of Georgia. Complex stationary front basically centered out here across the Mississippi River Valley. Then for Wednesday morning, here comes the rain, the tropical rains into the coastal plain of North Carolina. By early afternoon, it's getting into southern Virginia. You've got a heavier rainfall as well in Missouri, down through the Gulf of Mexico states here. And then as you go in the Wednesday night, all attention will be on Virginia, I believe, and North Carolina, as whatever this is begins to move on in. It hangs around for Thursday morning, gets scooped up ahead of this front, and the front is going to link up with another front from the northern branch of the jet stream, and that's going to bring the changes with it late the weekend. But ahead of it, again, it's just very unsettled, very muggy, very humid, and very unsettled in the Friday morning. That Saturday morning crosses much of the area. Saturday morning behind it, you've got beautiful high pressure, glorious blue skies, and lower humidity moving on in here. But the day one enhanced or excessive rainfall potential certainly there. Day two moves into the mid-Atlantic, as we would expect with our system here getting moved in with the overall flow, and then it continues a marginal risk here for excessive rainfall after the system. That's important because that is again showing us a potential for this air mass to still be very humid even behind the system, and that will certainly probably be the case certainly probably be the case. That will be the case coming up after the system for Thursday and Friday. What will be the devil of the details will be in exactly where those individual storms develop. Here's a water vapor picture tonight. It's kind of a cool look. You've got the upper low here near Dallas, Texas. You see the bands here of convection ahead of that. You also see the Gulf of Mexico is open for business. And then off to the east here, you've got the blow up of thunderstorm activity with a little bit lesser wind shear up underneath this upper level high. But again, the mid-level moisture is going to move this into the Carolinas for tomorrow. So you can see the overall flow. It's just converging over the Old Dominion here, and that's why we're concerned about the threat for flooding. I believe this is the what model is this? This is the regional Canadian, the RGM model. But I wanted to show you the UK map model really fast. This is 6-hour increments of precipitation. And this starts through 6Z, so this is now really through 2 a.m. Now this is through 8 a.m. And again, the modeling may be a little off on this, but the overall placement I think is there. And you've got generally light to moderate rain showers and a few thunderstorms, but the bulk of the heaviest rain at 2 o'clock up to 2 o'clock is just now getting on shore. Then as you go into Wednesday evening and the Wednesday night, this is through 8 p.m. Wednesday, this model is a little bit slower. So the speed's up for debate here. But the placement of the heavier rain is very concerning because this is through 8 p.m. Wednesday. Then this is through 2 a.m. Thursday. You can see very heavy rainfall here. This is over 1 inch to 1.5 inches, closer to 2 and 2.5 inches of rain through central North Carolina here. So then you have to add to it this rainfall over much of southwest and south central Virginia late Wednesday night and early Thursday. And then you have your scattered showers and thunderstorms each day. So if you were to total that up, and most of the models are faster, but I was just looking at placement and potential of heavy rainfall. And you've got amounts again up here around 4.5 inches, and the brighter areas here against part of the area. So, it's going to be a very close call on flash flooding, I believe. Most of the tracks are right up through our area. So there's not a lot of model disagreement on track as we're getting a little bit closer to the event. But again, we have to really watch the potential here for the heavier rainfall. Here's the NAM nest again. Shows that counterclockwise circulation. Look how quickly it moves through Virginia here. So the time period will be limited by the fast movement of the system, but the pure rainfall rate will be something to notice here. It'll be something that we have to contend with. Trying to look at precipitable water. And here are those values here. So the purple values into the yellow, that's 2 to 2.5 inches of precipitable water. That's a lot of water. And watch how that moves north. So this is Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. You've got precipitable water around just over 2 inches for a good part of the Blacksburg CWA into Wakefield's area. Some of that gets mixed out a little bit, but that's some pretty high water content coming through in about a 6-hour time period. So any rain that develops within that can produce some very efficient totals here. Thursday, the values drop off a little bit in the mountainous areas, but it's still very moist and unstable. There's our drier air coming in. You can really see that toward the end of the weekend. But your plots here stay up around the 1.5 to 2 inches in the Friday and Saturday. So there's going to be some isolated flash flooding, I think, even into the weekend. If you look at the wind speed at 700 millibars, I'm trying to get an idea of the movement of the thunderstorms. You have some enhanced winds coming around this system. So there'll probably be some forcing, some synoptic scale forcing here for Wednesday night. But what I'm more concerned about is the air mass in place for Thursday. Steering winds here at about, pretty good actually, about southwest at about 25 miles per hour. But they lessen a little bit for Friday. Still, we may see some training of thunderstorms with the trough still out here and the upper flow and the front kind of paralleling each other. But eventually this will get going here for Friday. So the chance of flash flooding is certainly there. It's something you need to take very seriously. Here are the latest model tracks. Again, it looks like Charlotte into Columbia, South Carolina, and depending on your model of choice, somewhere in southwest, south central Virginia over the next 24 hours. Again, I wouldn't concentrate on the center, but we do have the potential for some heavier rainfall with this invest area of tropical moisture here as it moves north over the next day or two.